All right, welcome to Birthing Purpose with Lana. I have here today Taylor Chandler. Oh my goodness, I feel honored to be able to sit and talk with Chandler. I was first made aware of Chandler through Instagram. And Chandler is amazing. Her posts are amazing and have really inspired me. She is a certified health coach. She has a master's and a license in marriage and family therapist, right? She's a certified personal trainer, and she's a certified fitness nutrition specialist. Did I leave anything out?
Did we get the health coach?
She's a health coach. She's everything. She a mommy to Coco. She. All right. So I was just so drawn to some of your. It seems like a lot of your posts have to do with relationships, and the one that really drew me to you is your depth of knowledge on narcissism, and that's a big thing right now. You know, I was watching Table Talk with Jada Pinkett, and she had a special on there about narcissism, and she said that was like one of the top requests that she's got that people want to hear about. So you just have so much knowledge about narcissism and just relationships and everything in general. So when you meet a guy, do they shy away from you, Taylor? Because it's like, I don't know, this girl gonna look inside my soul and in my head. Do you get that?
I definitely have noticed there's kind of like two basic bins that I might put the men in terms of like that question. Like the first bin are the ones that right when they hear what I do, they say, it's like almost like a script. They're like, oh, you gonna read my whole life. I don't know about this. So there's that, right? And I have gotten to, a long time ago, I got into a point where I don't respond to that. Like I just let them have their moment, and I don't refute it. I don't say, oh no, like that's not what I'm gonna, I just let them have it because I'm just tired of it. And the second bin will be the ones that are like, okay, that's really cool. Like I've been to therapy. Like they'll just really openly say that they've been to therapy or they're thinking about doing it. And I think that's really interesting too. So yeah, the ones that are like, oh my gosh, you're a therapist, that to me, in my mind, I'm thinking like yellow flag, not red flag. I'm thinking yellow flag.
What you nervous about, right?
Yeah, like some people just get very nervous, and I'm like, I'm totally uninterested in finding out all your secrets today, but
you want to know.
I don't want to know. I don't.
When you date someone, you don't, not all this.
If it's a dating situation, I don't date people who like that kind of initial conversation, like they wouldn't respond in that way. Like that's, you know what I mean? Like we wouldn't even have gone really like, because that first comment, there's other things that follow that, like that are kind of linked to that, like kind of like that insecurity, that like nervousness, feeling like, oh my gosh, I can't say too much, or you're gonna read me or whatever. So that type of person isn't someone that I'm interested in. So we don't even get to like
that. Right. But do you find yourself having to hold yourself back from wanting to counsel or be a therapist?
I have gotten really good at compartmentalizing.
Oh, good.
So like very, there are some things that I'll ask people that probably someone who wasn't a therapist or a coach, they probably just wouldn't even come to their mind. So that part I can't get away from because this is like a part of my identity, right? But I am very careful not to try to like fix someone's issues or like to let someone just share what's happening rather than like treating them like a client. I'm very, very careful, very aware of that.
Wow. And do you ever feel like everybody's nuts? Everybody is crazy.
I feel like all people have things.
We all have things.
We all have things. It's just a matter of like, what's your thing? Because I have them, you have them, we all have them. So I just kind of put us all on like just an even playing field, and it's kind of a matter of what is your thing gonna be, and when am I gonna find out about it? And but I don't look like searching.
And can you handle the thing? Because some things you can handle, and some you like, I can't handle.
Yeah, Yeah, you have to be very honest with myself about that too. Like,
Right.
not
And
my
so
job.
like I deal with that because because my gift is discerning of spirits, I'm always like
Mhm.
seeing stuff and I'm like,
Yeah,
you want to tackle it, and I gotta like, you know.
yeah. Where you feel like you can like solve someone's life in 10 minutes. It's you gotta leave that. We leave that
All
out.
right. So let's go back to the beginning. How did you know that you were called to be a coach, a therapist?
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah, I've always been in like leadership roles have just been very natural for me.
Mm,
Um, but I got into therapy, like I didn't go, my undergrad is in business.
mhm,
And then I went to grad school for therapy. So it wasn't something that like I started like college thinking that I was going to do therapy. I didn't grow up thinking I was going to be a therapist. It wasn't at all like on my mind. So as I was just kind of like just going through like my own formal education, and then I had an internship during my undergrad at a therapy center, and I loved it. It was just something that felt like, oh, I'm really good at this,
mm,
and I enjoy it. And these things that people are telling me are very hard, I find not hard. I
mm,
know that it's difficult, but I don't find it difficult to like untangle things or like
mm,
connect the dots in someone's life. It just comes very natural to me. And so I just followed that flow. I
mhm.
just followed the flow and it really worked.
It really works. It's
Yeah.
working. Wow. So you said you start off as in business. So you had other interests at first. What did you think that you were going to be doing
Yeah,
initially?
so I thought I was going to be doing weddings. Like I was
Oh,
doing event planning for a while with a couple different companies in Virginia. And I loved it. Like I love the like go, like everything is very fast. I love planning. I love that someone else can be stressed and I can just say, don't even worry about it. I got it. And in a way, I do that a lot with therapy and coaching too.
yeah.
So that kind of like unburdening someone, I just enjoy it.
Mhm.
So I like making sense out of things that look like they don't make sense.
Huh.
So I love doing weddings until I realized that all weddings happen like on a Saturday, on a Friday. And I was like, I have to give up my weekends for life. And I was like in my early 20s. So I was like, I don't know about that. And that was honestly a reason why I was kind of like, let me look at other things. Uh, and then also in my last year in college, I had stayed at, like I'd say taking classes every summer that I was in undergrad. So I got really far ahead. And so my last year, I was able to just do a bunch of stuff. And that's actually how I ended up getting certified as a personal trainer as well. So really that last year at school gave me a lot of freedom to like really get into other things. And I've always just been interested in a lot of things.
Mhm,
So it
mhm,
gave me an opportunity. And then I just found something that I wanted to be able to make money doing something that I really enjoyed and that I found kind of
mhm,
simple in a way.
mhm,
And I was able to apply like the way that I've learned business management to now having my own business.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, a lot of people like just in the natural, you can have triplets, twins. So
Mm-hmm.
you have a lot of talents and gifts that
Yeah.
you can use at different areas of, and times in your life,
Right. Right.
So um when we're talking about therapy, how important is it to fulfilling your purpose?
It's extraordinarily important. I really find that, or I know that my purpose is to help others raise their level of consciousness. And so taking that role on as a guide for others is just very natural to me. I just kind of lock right into it.
Mm-hmm.
So being a therapist is really like it's the perfect profession for me. I'm very comfortable with emotions, very comfortable with trauma and working through all of those things. So being able to help others reach their highest potential through getting to know themselves, it's very, very natural. When I was a personal trainer, and I still do large group classes. Um, I realized that doing personal training wasn't enough. Like, I love personal training. I love working out. It's a big part of my life. Fitness is huge for me, but I did get to a point where I thought, I really came to a point where I knew that just working with someone's body, like, it just wasn't enough. There was more. And so that's why I had to focus more on therapy.
Are you able to tell when someone is successful, but maybe not in purpose? Because sometimes,
Sure.
how can you tell? Like, you know, this person is this, you know, they've got the money, they've got what all seems just so perfect, but you're not in purpose. How can you tell that?
Yeah, I think you can tell. I think it's huge in the way that someone's energy comes across. So someone can have a lot, but if they're depleted, or if when you get around them, you feel more exhausted, that's a huge sign. I'm just listening to the words that they use. Are we only talking about material things, or do they have a sense of joy in them that isn't connected to, like, if someone could take it away? You know, those things that give you that really natural sense of joy, that is success, not like the accumulation of things. Yeah.
Which is, you know, it's getting back to those narcissists. You know, a lot of times people, they need therapy. These people need therapy, but they won't, because they're getting tricked by, I'm okay, I've got this, I'm doing that, da 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 da. But it's like, no, you have an issue.
Yeah.
And you need therapy.
Yeah.
You could probably be doing something even greater if you would get that help. But when you have issues with therapy, or, you know, like for narcissists, they feel like they're right, they're not wrong, you know, it can hinder a person.
Absolutely. And you're right, they're not going to seek therapy. And that's where you kind of have to take that helping hat off, whether you are the therapist yourself, observing that type of person, or that person is in your personal life. And you have to really kind of take that hat off and say, like, if they don't want it, that's just how it's going to be. You can't convince someone to change, even though it can be so obvious, so clear, kind of like that, we can solve your life in 10 minutes if you would just acknowledge this or that, and they won't. And so you can end up busting your head against the wall for as long as you decide to do it, but it's going to feel just like that, like you're talking to a wall.
So here's a question. How long should people stay in therapy? Now, listen, wait now. So I thought I was going to be a counselor. So I was working at a social service agency and said, you know, I'm going to work here in the field while I'm going to school. And I mean, I worked there for 4 years, and these people were coming for 4 years and they had not changed. So it's like, you know, I was like, yeah, this is not for me. Because it's just like, do they really want to change? Is it they just attention seeking? They just want someone to just vent with. They're not really trying to change. You know, people have said, if you're seeing the same therapist for all these years, something's wrong. Either that's not the therapist for you, or what? So what is your take on this? Like, how, and I know somebody that prides themselves. She's like, I don't see people over 4 sessions. That's how cold I am. Like, about a 4th session, I'm a wrap. And I'm like, yeah. And she, yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, and she does a lot of different things, tapping, you know, you heard the tapping that people, all this scientific stuff, like she gets all into that, and she's like, I don't see people over 4 times like that. You know, what do you think about that? Is it depends? Is it a thin line? Like what?
Yeah, there's so many factors.
I know, yeah.
So one, is it the right therapist or the wrong therapist? That's a question that only like those two people can really determine. I would definitely, any service provider, whether you're in social work, therapy, you're an LPC, you should be, ethically, you need to terminate therapy if you know that there is just no progress being made. Ethically, bound to that. And I also don't know why you would want to keep beating your head up against the wall or their head
Well,
up against the wall
because
working.
Chandler.
Right. And again, that's an ethical concern, right? Like,
yeah.
If you're just collecting recurring payments, that's problematic. Now, I do think that people should be in therapy for as long as you feel that you need to be in therapy. My own therapist, I have a therapist, and I've been seeing her on and off for now like 3 years.
Okay.
So it's not like 3 years once a week for 3 years, but it might have been 6 months at one time every week, taking a break for 3 months, 4 months, 8 months, 10 months, and then going back to weekly.
And different issues, or is it
different things? Different. Now, there have been some underlying things that will come up, but they form differently, might form differently each time. So if you're hearing yourself say the same thing in the same way, it's coming in the same form, we're probably not making a lot of progress, and it definitely might not be a good match. But another question that the client has to be willing to, or it would be helpful if they were willing to look at themselves and ask yourself, am I being fully honest? Am I giving this person everything that they need to work with in order to help me through the issue? Or am I still feeling like I need to keep some things in for maybe fear of judgment? Maybe I'm not comfortable. Maybe I'm a woman and they're a man, and maybe that's in the way. Do I need to talk to a woman about this? So thinking about, like, are there barriers to me being fully honest? Am I giving them all the materials they need to work with? Like, you think about it like a puzzle. And I kind of like use this analogy often because it makes sense that, okay, if I have a puzzle and I empty out all the pieces, and on the box it has this picture, but I take away 30% of the pieces, well, someone might be able to put together 70% of the puzzle. But if you got 30% of the pieces in your pocket or in your mind or hold up in your heart, then there's no way for someone to be able to get a full picture. And so you have to be willing to ask yourself, can I put it all out on the table? Is it their personality that's not letting me do it? Is it the time of the day? Is it the price? What is it?
The price. Right. Okay, so how much ridiculousness, trials, tribulations do you have to experience yourself to kind of be effective? And so what I mean by, like, I feel like with me in the ministry that I have been through a lot. I think God had me to go through these things so that I can have more compassion and more understanding when people come to me with this, with their issues. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think it's difficult to quantify. You can't really say, like, I've dealt with like this percentage of problems that exist in the world. But I can say that with everything, I'm a solution oriented person. Meaning, so what that means in this context is when I have a problem, I'm almost like so frustrated by the problem that after I get through that initial kind of hit, like maybe the sadness or the pain of it, I'm so frustrated that it exists at all that I'm going to do everything to flesh it out. So where if it has to come up again, I better make sure that I'm handling it in such a way that it better come at me different next time, because I'm going to flush it out so deeply that I'm never going to see it this way again. So with that being said, difficult to quantify like how many things, but I can say that with everything, I spend a lot of time with myself, a lot of reflection time, a lot of introspection, a lot of time in therapy, a lot of time journaling, a lot of time in meditation. I mean, probably exponentially more, not probably, definitely exponentially more than what is average. So I spend a lot of time just trying to flush out the issue.
Okay. So, and that's what you do to flush out? You do journaling, you do meditating,
therapy.
What else helps you flush out?
Connecting to people now with using my business account, being able to connect other people has been so important. That's something that when I went through things in the past, I want to say it's not cutting other people off, like, oh, I'm just going to go totally silent, but I wasn't open to sharing it with other people. And I found that when I found how healing it was, it really became a part of my mission to be able to connect other people, because it is so important to be able to hear that. I mean, we say you're not alone, but when you experience that you're not alone, it's a totally different level of understanding yourself and other people. So connecting with other people is huge, and flushing out your issue so you can get it out of your mind and connect with other people's minds and say, oh, I totally get it.
Now, what about, because I know you are a Christian, so how much do you go to God to like help you flush this out?
Oh my gosh, that's every day, all day. I do a devotional every day, but also I make it a conscious, I think of prayer as being just it's an active, a constant action that's happening through the day. So with everything, I'm very conscious about coming back to that center point. For me, that's God. So especially if there's something like a specific issue that I'm trying to like flush out at the time, I'll bring like a Bible verse with me and keep it like in my wallet or in my pocket. And so when I feel my mind going to a place that's not helpful, then I'm going back to that. So it really is like, when you're dealing with a problem or negative thoughts, you don't have to do anything, but it would be helpful to think of it as like, okay, if this was a war and this other thing is coming at me with this level of energy, I need to come with that energy plus one. If I'm hearing these thoughts for 5 hours out of my day, I better be going with 5 hours of positivity plus a minute. I better be willing to go above that energy that I want to overcome. And so it's so helpful to like be armed with those things. I've literally at times had a list of YouTube videos that, okay, if I'm hearing myself and myself is not helpful, then I need to borrow somebody else for a second. If I need to turn the podcast on and if I'm not feeling very confident right now, I need to borrow somebody else's confidence for a second. And really be arming yourself with those things to combat those kinds of negative thoughts and problems.
So when we talk about, being pregnant with purpose, was there anything where you had to say, Taylor, if you don't cut this out, because there's some things that pregnant women cannot do, else they will abort their baby. Was there anything that you had to say, enough? If you don't cut this out, you're not going to fulfill purpose. Yeah.
For me, it was in my relationships. That was that was a huge boulder in my life. I identify with being a recovering codependent person. So in a lot of past relationships, there have been toxic patterns. So a codependent person often feels responsible for someone else, feels like, in like the therapy world, we call it enmeshed, where the boundaries are so poor between the two people that I don't know where I end and you begin. And so now, however you feel is the way that I'm absorbing into me. For example, it also can play into like, oh, whatever you're interested in, now I need to try to be interested in that too in order to maintain a connection. So, there's so much to say about codependency, but I have had some really significant experiences in that area. And I knew that if I continued to have relationships like that, I would never reach my full purpose. That it was just, it was at a point where it was almost like, it's going to be either it's either going to be me or you.
Right.
It's either going to be, I'm going to come fully into myself, or I'm going to keep hanging on to you. And for what? Like what, like, and then really having to like go through that mental process of like, what am I getting out of this? And is it worth it? Is it worth it?
Right.
So yeah, for me,
it's never ever worth it, is it?
Right.
Never.
Right. It's not. And that's and we know that, but then can you to experience that in your life, to know it in your heart, are two totally different things.
So yeah, I know, like for me, because, I work in a deliverance ministry and things like that. Sometimes you can feel like you're supposed to have it all together. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
cannot go to someone because I do deliverance, and they'll be like, just cast that spirit off yourself and you'll be all right. Like, you got an issue. Why you dealing with rejection, or you dealing with this? Like, bind that up, whatever. So how difficult was it for you as a therapist to be like, I need therapy?
I was quick to call my therapist like that.
But you never, that never bothered you,
I
huh?
never
Never thought
felt
anything
like,
about that, huh?
yeah, I never felt like because I'm a therapist, I can't have a therapist. And that was something I think even before I was in grad school, and I'd been to therapy before I went to school for therapy. But at the school that I went to, they were really open about that. So I think that they sort of like curbed a lot of people's fears on that really early on, and encouraged people to go to therapy. At one point in the program, it was a requirement, not for my cohort, that's what we call it, cohort.
Right.
So not for us, it wasn't a requirement, but for in the past, and I think they actually are going to make it a requirement again that people attend therapy. So they kind of curbed that. I'll call it a fallacy. Yeah, pretty early. So I am quick with it. I actually was so quick with it. I'm so willing to go to therapy that I actually maybe had to do the opposite, which was there were times that I recognized that I wanted to call my therapist on something and get in for another however many weeks. But I had to tell myself, no, Taylor, you actually are fine. Like, you actually don't need to call her.
Right.
Like, you actually know everything that you need to do. And what one of your problems is, Taylor, is that you're looking for someone to validate what you already know is true. Well, why don't you just trust what you already know in your heart to do instead of seeking her to give you the check mark? Why don't you just go with your gut? So that for me was that was something I needed to do.
Wow, that's good. That's good stuff. So, everybody, we talk about Lamaze class, getting that education to, learn more about what it is that God has called you to do. And so, like, what coaches did you look up to, or therapists? What therapists did you look up to, or people that you listen to now, or whatever that you like? Yeah, I like their mentoring. I like listening to them. It really feeds me.
I just love my therapist. Okay. So I
love her. Give her a shout out.
Her name's Crystal, and I'm in Atlanta. She's in Atlanta.
Oh.
So I really, really admire the way that she does her work. And one of the things that I admire about her, and we kind of touched about this here, is that she's not afraid to say, Taylor, you don't need to come back next week. It's really okay. And I really appreciate that. I needed that at that time, for someone to say, like, it's fine, Taylor, like, go and do what you know how to do. So I really admire that about her and the way that she does her work. There's some people that I listen to that aren't therapists, but that I find to be good counselors, like TD Jakes, like Sarah Jakes Roberts, who I love them. I love a Sarita Jakes. Okay, I love the family. I feel like I'm in the family. Okay,
that's what I said about you when I was watching you. I was like, "That's my sister." She don't even know me. That's my sister, my cousin. Somebody. She's somebody to me. I gotta connect with her. I gotta connect with her some kind of way.
I love that, and it's so awesome that that we can do that virtually, and when you can feel someone's heart and say, like, okay, I really connect with their energy and their spirit, and I just get it. So I love them. I think they're great counselors, even though they're not licensed therapists.
Yes.
There's a business coach that I listen that right now I had actually committed to listening to all of her podcasts from they started in 2017, and I'm just about finally done. I committed to listening to her every single day till I just finished it, and I'm 4 episodes away from being caught up.
Okay.
So I got onto her when I was starting Thresh, and she was really, really helpful just in helping me to like think about how I wanted to model my business. Because she has nothing to do with therapy. Like, she's just a business coach, helping people to make money. So I found it really helpful to listen to her, because there's a lot of therapists that know how to do therapy great, but don't know the business side. So it was helpful to like hear her validate, and also to help to get her to, not get her, but to listen to her teach me how to do some things that I didn't know about. And that's a huge thing. Like, now we have access to YouTube, you have access to podcasts, you have access to Instagram, Facebook. Like, you don't have to be paying for a bunch of stuff. Like, you can get started in like your own healing or your own launch of your business for free with people that are.
So let's talk about Thresh. How did you come up with the name Thresh?
So I came up with the name because threshold was on my mind, and it was kind of like knocking on my brain's door, threshold. And the reason why threshold was coming to my mind, I don't know why. I think that was sort of like it just sort of dropped in there. But the word threshold, or going through a threshold, is really about when it's implying that you need to exert a certain amount of energy in order to get to the next part. And that word just really encompassed what I wanted my coaching to be about, my therapy to be about. I like movement. I like forward movement. What I didn't want is to set up a therapy or practice where it's kind of like, okay, we can just kind of sit and talk every week, and that should be enough. Like, my goal is to have people move. And so threshold, actually, the reason why that got thrown out was because I think there was like another LLC that like has it in Georgia. So then I just like cut it to Thresh, and I like Thresh a lot more. So that's where that came from. It was about, because I didn't want anyone to be confused about what they were going to get when they came to me, which is that this is forward moving. It is strategic. There is goal setting. It is like, we're not just sitting around and kikiing for an hour, even though that happens in all of my sessions for a little bit, but the goal is to have some forward movement. So I wanted the name to encompass that.
So what sets Thresh, Taylor Chandler Thresh, apart from other therapists?
Yeah. So I'm a therapist and a coach. So there's that combination, which I think is helpful for people that don't know the difference. To put it really simply, a therapist is like from this moment past. Like, we're going to take things that have happened in the past and help you to understand your present and your future a little bit better. Coaching is this moment forward. So what are you going to do? Not so worried about like what has happened. So I really integrate both aspects into the programs that I offer, but we're never doing both at once, because it just gets to be, it's just too much. So we separate. Like, if you need therapy, that is one like phase, to think about it that way, and then coaching is going to be your next phase. So there's that. I also have like such a deep understanding of the therapeutic principles that a lot of coaches don't have. So there are some coaches that are just going to push, but don't have the knowledge or the understanding or even the patience, honestly, to be able to say, okay, what is that about? Like, do we need to back it up, and to be able to unpack it in a way that's not going to re-traumatize you? There's a lot of coaches that understand that trauma is a thing, but do you really want to talk about trauma with someone who doesn't know how to wrap it back up for you in a way where you can go about the rest of your day and not feel like, oh my gosh, I've just let all this stuff out and I don't have a way to like manage it. So it's so important that you're with someone that can do that. If you're not in a place where that's possible and you want to work with a coach, the goal is to like maybe go to a therapist first and flesh out some of those things so that it doesn't impede your coaching process and you end up wasting money, because now you know how to do something, but the depression is still present, but the anxiety is still present, but the trauma is still unresolved. But so if you know how to, for example, set up your next six-figure business with your business coach, but you're still waking up feeling like my life is pointless, then what we're back both of those to be able to go back and to be able to go forward. The other thing is that I'm very, very performance based. Like my clients get results. I know a lot of therapists aren't really comfortable with claiming that, to say my clients get results, because it feels very like sharky almost. Like it has a kind of like a harshness to it that a lot of people don't associate with therapy. Like a lot of people think therapy is like, it's soft, we're gonna cry and I'm gonna lay back on my couch and you're just going to like coddle me, and that's not what we're doing. Okay, so I want no one to be confused about that. Like there are parts about therapy that can be very much like that, but we don't sit in it for so long that we forget where we're going.
Right.
So I'm very performance driven, with also the knowledge of like, yes, sometimes we do need to like take it down 10 notches, and sometimes we do need to cry. Right. But then there's also a healthy expectation that we're going to get up and we're going to move forward. So I think that makes my therapy a lot different.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I want to share your website.
Yes.
Let's share the website with everyone. Oh, can we see it? Yay! There it is.
Yes, Thresh Coach. The braids are back.
All right. So for anyone who is interested in Thresh Coach Taylor Chandler, you can go to threshcoach.com. You want to walk us through it, Taylor?
Yeah, for sure. So if you scroll down, you're going to find the link to do clarity calls and one-on-one sessions. And there's a free consult that you can use for a one-time use. It's super, super simple. So literally, if you just click on one-on-one session for current clients, I don't know that it's going to, it should just open up a schedule. Yeah. So you can just pick whatever time works for you, and I get a notification, and that's it. It's really that simple to get set up. And if you go up to blogs, I actually have some blogs that are scheduled to be posted. So there's some blogs. I did a series with a really good friend of mine named James. So if you're interested in like the physical fitness and how that's connected to your mental health, we did a big series on that. So that's there. And then on my services tab, if you click that, that's going to link you to where you can just send me a quick email, like if you have any questions. And then all of those prices are there as well. And then I think if you just hit that call button, I think you'll literally start calling me. So you can connect with me super, super simply.
Oh, right.
I definitely recommend going to that free consult and taking advantage of that. There's no obligation. We just talk about what it is that you're looking for, and that's it. And you figure out if I'm a good fit for you. And I'll also tell you if I just do not do what you're asking me to do. That's a big shift that happened in my business, was being okay with telling someone that that's not what I do.
So what are some of the things that someone has come to you and you're like, I don't do that?
Mm-hmm. So like eating disorders, not my forte.
Gotcha.
I will refer you to someone else. Eating disorders, things like even like sleep issues. I'm not taking any couples. I'm only working with individuals. I don't do families. I've done a lot of couples and a lot of family work. I'm not doing that here. So only individuals. And there's also some levels of severity of depression that it would be helpful for you to go to someone else. And that's the main reason why that becomes an issue, is if you need medication, or if like I can see that therapy is not enough, and that is absolutely the case for plenty of people. There's no shame in it. It's like having diabetes. I'm not going to tell someone like, well, you should be able to just talk yourself out of the insulin. No, you need some insulin, because that your pancreas is out of whack, and we have to be able to We have to be able to we don't have to get into all the science of it, but the fact is the pancreas is out of whack with diabetes, and we need to manage it by injecting insulin, okay?
Right.
Same thing with something like depression. For some people, the level of severity requires that you are on medication for some period of time, okay? I mean, you know, that conversation is something that I can have with someone like a one-on-one basis. But if that's the case and I do not prescribe medication, it would be just kind of point blank period wrong, and it's unethical for me to say, well, I can help you just talk through it if it's something that needs to be managed with some medication, at least for a period of time. So that's absolutely a thing, and it's a conversation that I'm definitely open to having with someone. Also someone that has like that is not, for example, maybe you've been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and you've said to me, yeah, I've been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I've been living with it for 7 years, and I just don't want to take my medication anymore. I can't. It's just like, we're putting both of us at risk. And number one, yourself. So things like that, when there's medication involved, like that's something that we have to get very, very particular about.
All right. I get it. All right. Mm-hmm. A little bit about Taylor. Anything else you want them to know about you?
Just that I'm really, really reachable, that you can always ask me if you just have a question, or if there's something that, if you're looking to get connected with somebody else that can help you with a particular issue that you have, I'm super open to that. But the main thing is that if you're struggling with something, you don't have to struggle alone. And that if you ever see a price on something that makes you feel like this isn't for me, I would definitely highly suggest, whether it's me or someone else, that you reach out to that person on your own, like individually, and just ask, are there options? Or do you know someone that that might be able to take me, that has a lower price? And also, a lot of times when you start having those conversations, you'll notice that there are some places that you can adjust, and that's okay. You know, your mental health is an investment, and it's okay for someone to say, like me, to say like, well, are you spending $80 on like Netflixes and Hulus and Amazons? You know, that's a very real thing, right? Like, do we need to go back and look at, where am I spending my money, and is my mental health worth more than that? And are there truly some things that I can move around before I ask someone to lower their price? Price shouldn't be, or money shouldn't be, the reason why you don't get the help that you need, whether it's that you need to be connected with someone that truly does have a lower price, or if you need to talk through it with that professional and say, okay, I know that it's worth this amount, but I really need some help in looking at where I'm spending my money already to figure out how I can afford you.
Right. That's good. That's good. And you were talking about not taking certain people, and there are people that I won't do the deliverance on either, because like same thing. There's someone who wanted deliverance, but they had multiple personality. They're not taking their medicine, and and then once you take people through deliverance, it's like, I tell them, you might need that inner healing piece. And you need someone to keep you free, to constantly go to every week or consistently. Just don't drop your meds. So you can actually mess a person up more by trying to take them through deliverance and then just leave them cold turkey. It's like, no, you're not, I can't wipe you clean, because I mean, the scripture says you clean a house, and if they don't put the right stuff in, then them spirits coming back 7 times stronger.
Absolutely.
And they will be even more. And I feel, and I was like, man, I would love to help you, but you're not going to do the work.
Yeah.
You're not going to do what it takes to stay free.
Yeah. And it's such a great point. And anyone that is seeking either your services or mine, or someone that is like us, the professional on the other side should be that concerned, like should be thinking about, okay, after this moment, what happens next? And if they're not asking you those kinds of questions about how you're already taking care of yourself, or like an aftercare type of plan, like for you, like what happens after deliverance? Like, are you managing your medications, or do you have any diagnoses that we need to know about? If they're not willing to ask you those questions, then you might want to look elsewhere for your services, because the professional should be that concerned.
Yeah, like some people don't, they want to, and then they get mad when it doesn't work. It's like, you're not doing the work. You can go through deliverance, but all day long. But then if you're going to just go back to, like you said, hanging around toxic people, you know, you really haven't let that thing go that you're supposed to let you, it's just, we're wasting our time. It's going to be worse off for you. So it's like, I can tell if somebody's really, really serious about holding on, you know. I mean, I can't always tell, but a lot of times I can. And some people I'm like, yeah, you're not ready. You're not really ready, you know. But oh my gosh, it was such a pleasure talking to you. Anything else you want to share? Anything you want to ask me or whatever? Anything? I
think that you asked great questions. So I think we fleshed it out.
I had to think about it and write them down ahead of time. Yes. Really, so what is the next thing for Thresh? Because, you know, a lot of times when people birth their baby, the baby's here, and then the baby grows, you know, infant, toddler, you know, kindergarten, and, you know, middle school, high school, like the baby's constantly growing, because we never stop learning. We never stop growing as people in your business and your craft. So what is the next level for Thresh company?
Yeah, so I'm going to roll out a program it's a 90-day program for those that have gone through what I call relational trauma. So that person might not identify it as relational trauma at the onset. So more of it, if you kind of can identify with something like this, being in a relationship with someone that you deem toxic, feeling emotionally depleted after getting out of a relationship. The relationship could have ended a year ago, and still you kind of feel like this stickiness, this sort of like darkness surrounding that. That's a 90-day detox. Okay, and 90-day emotional detox. And there's a lot kind of connected to that 90 days, because when you've been in a relationship with a toxic person, it's literally as if you are withdrawing from a drug. Like if you had just been on crack. I mean, truly, this is no exaggeration at all. Your brain,
explain that.
Yeah, your brain is literally firing the exact same way as if you were just doing a drug like crack, cocaine, heroin, whatever. When you're withdrawing from a person like that has taken you from these super high highs to super low lows. So this is going to be a 90-day super high contact with me program. And I'm really excited about it because, like you said, a lot of people have experience with narcissists, experience with emotional and mental abuse. There's a lot of misconceptions about the effect that has on people. And so my goal is to help others to get back to themselves and get to a place where they can identify as a secure person without a relationship, but then also how to be in those secure relationships.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
That sounds wonderful. Ooh, juicy stuff.
I can't wait.
I know. I'm so excited for you. Oh my gosh. And I'm so happy to meet you. And I don't know. We'll be in touch. We're gonna do something. I gotta do something with you. My cousin, our sister.
Yes, please, cousin.
Ohio. So I don't know. Have you ever been here?
To Ohio? No.
It's not the up and coming. Like I said it like I was saying New York or Chicago or something. I'm in Ohio. So sorry to hear that. No. Yeah. So, well, thank you so much for taking the time out your busy schedule to talk with me. And yeah. I look forward
Thank you
to
for having me. Thank
yeah,
you for
I
having
look
me.
forward to seeing some more of your posts and cracking up.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, they'll be there. I'll be on there tonight, actually. We're going
Are
live
you? Oh my
tonight.
gosh, what is the topic tonight?
Tonight, I'm going to be on there with a guy named Nick who has some really, really high level understandings of relationships. And we're going to be talking about, let me pull up exactly what it's going to be.
And your Instagram is Thresh.
Yes,
Right?
Thresh Coach.
Thresh Coach. So anyone wants to follow Taylor Chandler on Instagram is Thresh Coach.
We are going to be talking about truth and love. So,
And what time does that start?
Lord, it's going to be exciting. We're doing this at like 9:30 p.m. tonight. So,
For big people, for grown folks. This is grown folks.
Yes. So, we got to save some of it for post 9 p.m. That's exactly what this is going to be. So yeah, I'll be on live, but anyone can catch that replay because I'll be definitely be posting it after.
Right. Oh, excited. All right. Well, thank you so much, Taylor.
Thank you. And I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.